If you want to get 12 seconds of Radiant for each kill and also get unlimited Sever, threadlings, and also special ammo, for this build you're also using this exotic that just got a recent buff, and I think it's better than ever. This build is extremely fun when playing the new Onslaught game mode. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Let's first talk about which exotic armor piece we're going to be using for this build. On the leg armor, it is called Rain of Fire. So here's what it does. It would passively grant 30 airborne effectiveness to fusion rifles and linear fusion rifles. But for us in this build, we are primarily using fusion rifles. The next one, fusion rifles and linear fusion rifle kills grant Radiant for 7.5 seconds. But for us, we are going to use a fragment that will extend the Radiant timer even further. And lastly, whenever you do an air dodge, it will refill all weapons from reserves. Let's now head to the Dawnblade subclass. For the super, of course, you gotta go for Well of Radiance, because it would also give you Radiant as well whenever you enter Well of Radiance. And also, as you're Radiant, your weapons will have the ability to stun anti-barrier champions, and in this case, our weapons are going to be our fusion rifles. For the abilities, be sure to go for Phoenix Dive for the class ability. The base cooldown is much less compared to the other two abilities, and also whenever we activate Phoenix Dive, we are also going to be getting Sever for our fusion rifle, primarily our strand fusion rifle. For the solar melee, go for Incinerator Snap because one, you can be able to debuff bosses or champions, and two, this one's kind of like an instant ignition towards that target. And also, whenever you proc ignition on a champion, especially for unstops, you can be able to stun them. Lastly, for the abilities, go for Healing Grenade, just because of more survivability. Now on to the aspects. For the first one, be sure to go for Icarus Dash. While you're in midair, you can do a mid-air dodge, and as you're doing that, it will refill your ammo on your fusion rifle. And also, while you're airborne, rapidly defeating targets with your super or weapons cures you. The second aspect you're going to want to use is Touch of Flame. So we are using a Healing Grenade, so it will improve the strength of cure and restoration effects applied. So in total, we are going to be having 4 fragments, and might as well attend to those. For the first fragment, be sure to go for Ember of Solace, because if you were to get Radiant and Restoration effects applied to you, they would have increased duration. And also too, you can extend it up to 15 seconds when using our solar primary because of the seasonal artifact mod called Flint Striker. Rapid solar weapon precision hits and rapid solar weapon final blows grants Radiant. The second fragment, go for Ember of Ashes. You apply more scorch stacks to targets. I put this one because whenever we hit a target with all of our shots on our exotic weapon, we will get a guaranteed ignition. The third aspect I chose to put is Ember of Singeing. Your class ability recharges faster when you scorch targets. I put this one because we are getting Sever from our strand fusion rifle, so by having this, we would have more of a chance to proc Sever on that fusion rifle. And the last fragment I chose to put is Ember of Eruption. Your solar ignitions have increased area of effect, but you would get plus 10 strength. And now let's head to the weapons. For the kinetic weapon, I'm using the strand fusion rifle called the Scatter Signal. Here's what you need to run for the perks. On the third column, go for Slice, because the next 5 hits within 9 seconds of using your class ability will apply Sever to targets on hit, and this will also apply to targets that are immune to damage. And on the fourth column, go for Controlled Burst. Upon scoring a kill or hitting every shot in a burst, grants 20% increased damage and 10% decreased charge time for 2 seconds. And the origin trait for this fusion rifle is Dragon's Vengeance. When an ally dies or you reach critical health, this weapon's magazine refills and it gains bonus range, charge rate, and handling. And of course, you can be able to stun anti-barrier champions because one, we are getting Radiant whenever we get a kill, and two, of the seasonal artifacts. The first one is Unraveling Orbs. Picking up an Orb of Power grants strand weapons Unraveling Rounds for 8 seconds. And the next one, you can be able to spawn threadlings, and it's called Horde Shuttle. Damaging unravel targets with a weapon occasionally spawns a threadling. So we are going to proc Sever, Unraveling Rounds, and threadlings all just with this fusion rifle. Onto the energy weapon. I am using the solar auto rifle called the Summoner. Yes, I do know this is a trials weapon, but I'll show you an alternative weapon when I'm done discussing this weapon. Here are the perks that I do recommend you should be going for this auto rifle. On the third column, be sure to go for Heal Clip. Reloading shortly after dealing a final blow grants cure to you and nearby allies. So it would give you ×2 cure, and if you were to do it to your teammates as well, they will get ×1 cure. And on the fourth column, go for Incandescent. Defeating a target spreads Scorch to those nearby. More powerful Cabinets and opposing Guardians cause Scorch in a larger radius. So it will apply 30 Scorch stacks, but we are using Ember of Ashes, so it would be 40 Scorch stacks. And for the origin trait for this auto rifle, I am using Wild Card. card because whenever we get final blows with this weapon, we would have a chance to create an experimental sub-munitions at the target's location. Long story short, whenever you get a kill, it will drop a Telesto ball on the floor. So if you were to kill a minor enemy, it will drop 1 Telesto orb. And if you were to kill an elite, it will drop 3 Telesto orbs. And if you were to kill a mini boss or a boss, it will drop 7 Telesto orbs on the floor. I'm mainly using this primary weapon to 1, give us 300% class ability regeneration, and 2, we are going to be able to stun overload champions because of the seasonal artifact mods. And for the alternative weapon, go for this pulse rifle called the Darkest Before. And the perks for this pulse rifle go for heal clip and incandescent as well. For the power weapon, I am using, of course, the 1000 voices because if you guys didn't know, this got a buff when Into the Light dropped. So let me show you what buff it got. Before Into the Light, the ammunition was 7, but now they increased it up to 11. So you're now going to be holding more heavy ammo on this fusion rifle. The weapon perk is Unforeseen Repercussions. This weapon's beam superheats its targets on impact, causing delayed scorching effects. So again, when we deal damage to big bosses, we are going to be proccing Ember of Singeing. And for the intrinsic trait, it's called Ahamkara's Eye. Charging this weapon unleashes a giant continuous beam of death. And also too, for the stats of this weapon, the handling is 0, a whopping 0. So we are going to be using armor mods for the build that will increase our handling to make it even easier when swapping. And you're also going to be stunning anti-barrier champions and unstoppable champions with the 1000 voices. So once we put all of our beams from this fusion rifle onto an unstop, they will get in guaranteed ignition, in which case we'll stun them. So you are going to be stunning every single champion for this build. And if you guys would like to check out the seasonal artifacts, it will be right here on screen. Now let's head to the stats. The main one I do recommend going for is recovery because we are on Warlock, so it would reduce the cooldown of your class ability and it would also increase the spread at which you regain lost health. So the higher recovery we have, the more Sever we're going to be proccing to targets with our Strand Fusion Rifle. And the second stat, go for Resilience to give you that 30% damage reduction if you have tier 10. And as what you guys are seeing here, these are the armor mods that I was using for this build. The main ones I do want to mention is on the Warlock Bond. This one is called Special Finisher. Whenever we have 3 stacks of armor charges and we were to finish a target, it would give me and my teammates special ammo. And for the boots, I am using Strand and Harmonic Scavenger, in which case would give us more ammo whenever we pick up either special or heavy ammo bricks. And also too, for the helmet, I am using Solar/Strand Dual Siphon, so it would combine the Solar Siphon and Strand Siphon into one. If you guys would like to try out the build for yourself, the dim link will be in the description. If you found this video informative or you enjoyed it, be sure to hit that like button and also subscribe. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, evening, or afternoon. Take care and peace.